as time has gone on, I realized like you can't do it alone, right? You need to have the right people in your life. And so sometimes that's finding a partner. Sometimes that's, if you have the ability to, getting an employee, investing in an employee, right? I mean, all this media and marketing stuff, it's a big investment. So I'd say you have to invest in yourself. You got to figure out where that net time is in your life. And when I say invest in yourself, that might mean investing in other people, growing that team, growing that group.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?
Hi everyone, I'm Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast. Today I'm here with Nicole Perrone, a top producer leading a $2.1 billion mortgage team in Manhattan since the age of 33. Today she's the host of the $1 Billion Banker podcast, a TV host for the Emmy-nominated American Dream TV, and SVP of production at Cross Country Mortgage. I know there's a whole lot more to your story, Nicole, and we'll dive into a lot of it. But I just want to start with saying thank you. Thank you for coming on the show today. Thank you for being here to share your story with my audience. I really do appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me, Jason.
Yeah, great. Well, let's start with your story, your background. Kind of, there's a long list of accomplishments, but let's talk about kind of what got you there.
Sure. Well, hello to your audience, and just as a quick recap of your introduction, I think today everybody is so many things, right? We're so much more than just one thing, and I think that's kind of been this evolution of the work world, right? Many of us are hosting podcasts and doing things in the media world that's complementary to what we do for a living. And so the $1 Billion Banker podcast and me being a host of the podcast, as well as American Dream TV, is really complementary to my mortgage business. I've been in the mortgage industry for 15 years. And today I'm the Senior Vice President of Production at Cross Country Mortgage. I run an amazing team here, work on the Carbon team. We're one of the top teams here in the country for the organization. Cross Country Mortgage is the #1 distributed retail mortgage lender in the country. So pretty cool group, amazing team. I'm also an entrepreneur. I own a construction company. I'm a real estate investor. So all those things really kind of complement my love for real estate, my love for helping people, and my love for kind of helping people get to that next level in their life. And through the journey of doing podcasting and media and entrepreneurship and kind of scaling and growing and leading, I've recently developed a coaching company as well, where I have a few different packages and I help people just really take their business to the next level. And so I think fundamentally, I'm really charged up about this environment that we're in and all of the things we can do now that we have so much accessibility to one another. Jason's in Los Angeles. I'm in New Jersey. So it's incredible that this is how we're meeting, right? We didn't meet at an event. Right. We didn't meet through people. So it's just fostering these environments to collaborate has been really exciting too. So really excited to be here.
Awesome. Well, no, it is the technology and sort of ways that we have now to just connect with people is so much greater than it was, 10 years ago even. So it's pretty cool what can be accomplished from a distance. What got you started? I mean, like I said, a whole lot of things there. I definitely want to talk about, your entrepreneurial background as well, but you sort of start the story as getting into mortgages, but I imagine there's more to it than that. What brought you into it? How did you grow to where you are today? I think is kind of, people like to hear the journey.
Yeah, it's a great question. I think for your audience, it's like we all have these kind of crazy paths that lead us to where we are. And I always joke and say, like, I wasn't 5 years old and wanted to grow up and be a mortgage banker. Some people are blessed to know from a young age what they want to be. I knew that I was outgoing. I knew that I loved people, and graduated from Monmouth University with a bachelor's in communications, radio, television. Thought I'd get into radio, TV. And that was in 2007. And so it wasn't the best time to find a job. And I remember answering an ad in the paper for a sales job, and that kind of started my journey into the sales industry. And what I really loved about sales is funny. At the time, my mom said, you're going to get into sales after going to college and all this money we spent, like go get a job that's, secure and gives you, fixed income. And everything I was finding out there was just, it was like, Jason, it was so bad. It was like, I couldn't make any money. I couldn't survive. It was difficult times, that gas was through the roof and everything was so expensive. I'm like, I wouldn't even have enough money for gas and just to go out maybe like one night a week. I'm in my 20s. So I really wanted to do something where I got to determine what my worth was. I knew I was worth more than just the minimum wage entry level salary somebody was going to give me in 2007. I knew the unemployment market was crazy. And I said, let me get out there and get after this and make it for myself. So I think there is kind of like where my why developed. And I didn't want anyone to ever put a cap on my success. And I think for your audience, I don't know if this resonates with anyone, but sometimes you feel like that check that you take home at the end of the day or that W-2 at the end of the year isn't really commensurate with the amount of effort, energy, and passion that you have for what you do. We spend so much time working that I'm really passionate about people believing in what they can achieve. And so I landed in the mortgage industry. And 15 years later, I'm a leader. I help clients that are looking to purchase and refinance. I have an amazing team with me here at Cross Country. I'm responsible for helping Cross Country grow. So always looking for amazing loan officers to join our team, work with a ton of realtors and CPAs and accountants. And so I really love working with people. And I think intrinsically, if you kind of can find your fit from there, it just all works out. And again, like the media side of things really blends nicely with everything we do.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's often a common theme in the entrepreneur world, and particularly with guests I've had on the podcast, is that a background in sales, I think, is tremendously helpful, especially in today's day and age of media, whether that's TV, radio, or social media. Being able to market yourself is incredibly important. But I think the part that you mentioned that I feel like I've heard so many times is that piece about wanting to be able to, sort of have your compensation representative of what you're actually doing. And I think that's sometimes people see that as risky. And I guess maybe it's risky, but if you believe in yourself, it's probably actually less risky than being tied to this, sort of hourly or even annual salary that has nothing to do with performance. And I think if you believe in yourself as a high performer, a sales job or anything, sort of commission based makes way more sense in your ability to succeed.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think you have to have, back to the kind of knowing your why, right? You have to intrinsically have that desire, that discipline, that self-awareness. I could wake up every day and sit on the couch and just wait for my phone to ring, but there's this desire inside of me to push every day, to keep preparing, to keep putting myself in spaces where opportunity can come, and then to take bold action, the things that I want to achieve in my life. And I think with those steps repeated consistently, good things come. And it comes, look, high risk, kind of high reward at the end of the day. I think it starts with that belief in yourself. And I think I'm publishing a book soon called The MVP Mindset. And, the dedication page to my mom and dad was like, their belief in me allows me to believe in others, and to some extent. And so like, I just really feel like, there's some people out there, maybe even in your audience, that might not completely believe in that vision they have for something, that passion they have, that project, that thing that they've been thinking about for a long time. And I just like to be that person that says, like, go for it, do it. I think you can achieve anything you set your mind to. There's going to be fear. There's going to be self-doubt. There's going to be times where you're not sure if what you're doing is the right thing. Is this the right space for me to spend my time? And sometimes there's just trial and error you have to go through. You're going to learn as you go. But that's the exciting part too. The journey is really exciting, right? It's like the destination is what you're aiming for. But I think if any of us look back at our careers, I remember being 25 years old, sitting at my desk thinking, about all the goals I wanted to achieve and when I wanted to hit them. And I wanted to have a house and I wanted to have investment properties and I wanted to manage a team. And I was so focused on that. And when I think back about the journey, like at the time, there was this fear of success that I had, this fear of like, oh my God, well, what if I do accomplish all this, Jason? Then what? How am I going to handle it? How am I going to handle all these clients and all these referrals? And so it's, there's fear of success, there's fear of failure. There's all these things that kind of get in the way of what we want to achieve in our lives. But we got to put that to the side. We all have it. Just, we got to push through. We got to know what we want and go after it. When you look back on the journey, and you look back to that 25-year-old or maybe the 35-year-old or 45-year-old, depending on who you are, we all have goals at different times in our lives. Like, it's just one of those things that you realize, you kind of look at that journey with this like affection, like, wow, I really wanted it. I worked so hard to get it. And I just love that process, so to the audience, enjoy the journey, whatever it is.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. I think it's easy to get sort of focused on the goals and the end result, but ultimately you don't really want it to stop. You want success to continue. You want to kind of keep moving those goals forward. And so if you, most entrepreneurs and driven people, I don't think their goal is not to be able to sit on the couch all day. That's not really the end goal. And so they just keep kind of shifting where that goalpost is. But you mentioned, kind of, how do you do it all? And I've had people ask me that sometimes, like, oh, you have a podcast, you have this job, this business, blah blah blah. You do too. You have all these, sort of irons in the fire. What do you, I think it's not, I don't think there's a perfect answer to these questions, but when people come to you and say, well, how do you do all those things? I mean, what is your response to that question? Because obviously, book coming out, we'll talk about your keynote speech. Like, there's all kinds of things. You said you have a construction company, real estate. Like, maybe tell people a little bit high level on how does that all come to be? How do you sort of balance it, manage it, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I think we all have. First of all, you gotta want it. You gotta want to do it, right? It's got to be something that's exciting. When I had the opportunity to partner in a construction company, it was after 2022, right after the mortgage market, when everybody was refinancing, it was going crazy. We were working 10, 12-hour days at the time. And then all of a sudden it got quiet. It was like my organization wasn't hiring, rates went up. We weren't really doing a lot of business anymore. And I was like, I just went from 12-hour days just attached to my device, like on all day long, to like what felt like a 5 or 6 hour day. Like, I could probably get my work done. And I was like, well, what am I going to do with all that extra time? I'm not going to relax. Right. And so there's times where we're working in our business and it's just kind of got us, it's just overwhelmed us. Like in 21, I couldn't have done anything else. Right. Maybe I could have got a podcast or two in a month. And obviously it's kind of just like a meeting, but starting another company or something like that, or partnering in something, starting a new endeavor would have been very difficult. So what I would say is, like, when you have those seasons in your life where things kind of, there's a lull, there's some opportunity, there's some time, there's some space, and you have a passion to do something more, then you want to fill that space. You want to fill it with something that you enjoy. So in 22, we started New Jersey Construction, and we spent a lot of time just getting everything up and running, and rebranding and reframing it, and just getting our processes and procedures together. I think that ultimately, I have ADHD, so I love doing multiple things. Like, I love going from this to that, to this, to that, to this, to that. I'd rather do that than just be doing this all day. Right. So I kind of thrive in environments where I'm changing what I'm doing. I could talk to a client looking to put an addition on their home, hang up, and then talk to someone that wants to refinance their mortgage or purchase an investment property. And I'm excited because it's always something new. It's always something different. And so I think it takes great teams. I'll tell you that. I think as time has gone on, I realized, like, you can't do it alone, right? You need to have the right people in your life. And so sometimes that's finding a partner. Sometimes that's, if you have the ability to, getting an employee, investing in an employee, right? I mean, all this media and marketing stuff, it's a big investment. So I'd say you have to invest in yourself. You got to figure out where that net time is in your life. And when I say invest in yourself, that's that might mean investing in other people, growing that team, growing that group. Who do I need to do what to help me? And so, there's times in our career where we do very well. And then there's times where we kind of like, some years you build income, some years you build character, kind of a thing. And so the last couple of years have been really like a character building year. A lot of money spent on investing in businesses, investing in real estate, investing in marketing. And, you hope some of it pays off as time goes on, but you gotta just enjoy the process of building things out. I think if you have that and you can invest in yourself and really use your time the right way, you can do it.
Yeah, I agree completely. And I think, basically passion, teams, and belief, right? There's kind of the themes of that, of that response. I think you've, you've got to want to do this. You've got to enjoy sort of building, growing, and I think that's really in a nutshell what entrepreneurship comes down to, is just that excitement about building something. And so if you don't enjoy that, it's probably not a great place to be. It's probably not, don't be an entrepreneur if you don't have the passion for it. I like what you said about sometimes you're growing income, sometimes you're growing character. For sure, these last couple of years for a lot of people in the entrepreneur space have been a lot more about character growth than income growth. But the years leading up to 2022, there were, 2-3 years there where people made a ton of money. You said, you're working 12-hour days because the business was so busy. Like, that's just kind of how it goes as a business owner. It's up and down. If you're a W-2 employee, you work your, X number of hours per week. That's your schedule. That's what you do. And that's fine. If you want to grow something big, you've got to understand that you may have, a bit of downtime, and the downtime can last for years. And you have to have, that's where the belief comes in, is like, okay, I'm in these years, I'm building for what this is going to look like 5 years from now. And so it's just like a belief or a vision of the long-term picture that's, I think, is so important. And you're in a lot of the same sort of space that I am. I love the construction world as well. I invest in real estate. I think, but it all ties together, right? If you're doing mortgages and construction and investing in real estate, like it's not so different, right? They all kind of go together in some way. And so how do you feel about that as far as importance in terms of being able to sort of do all this and balance it? I know you've got great teams in place, but do you feel like is it intentional that they're all kind of in the same space, or do you also want to do things, kind of completely outside of that real estate bucket? What do you see as that, piece?
Yeah, no, mortgage. I mean, the mortgage industry is really where my passion is. It's where I've created my wealth, my income. It's where I learned to be a leader. It's where I really learned everything about business, just integral part of leading and working with people. And so that's where I came up. That's where things began. And so that's just always kind of going to be a part of what I do. And that's most of what I do. And so, when I said before about having partners and people, right? So, on the construction side of that business, I probably spend 20% of my week there, if that. The hardest part was in the beginning. It was really building it out. And, and now it's like I have a partner, and that's back to sharing and success, right? Like if I wanted it all to be mine, then there's no way I could spend 20 hours a week on there. But I have an amazing partner who runs our crews and our teams, who does a lot of the work. And then I have somebody else that works on our administrative team. And so that helps just allow me to be in it, really think about how to work on the business. And I think, I just think with media, it doesn't matter to your audience. Like, it doesn't matter what you do. If you're in some kind of a customer service type industry, you could be a service provider, a plumber, an electrician, you can have a restaurant. I mean, I just think you need media. I think it has to be part of your plan. And so instead of doing what I used to do 3 or 4 lunches a week or 3 or 4 coffees a week, I do podcasts now. And I don't have to leave my home for most of them. Some of them I do, and I have a studio around the corner. So I just I substituted that time. That time was already accounted for. It was just in-person meetings most of the time. Now it's podcasts, people across the country getting to meet with people and share these ideas on bigger platforms. So I think media helps open a lot of doors. If I can have you on to share your message, you can have me on to share mine. I think it's just such a great benefit in that. So I think there's kind of like this net time. I think as we move through, through this evolution in the world, it's like there's all these spaces to fill. And so as a leader, big part of what I've been doing is coaching, training, developing, holding accountable people on my team. And I do that because they report to me. But there's people that have approached me as my social platform has grown and said, like, I would love to, like, could you coach me? And so I started getting approached, and I decided, you know what, I'm going to develop a package that makes sense for my time. And then if it's an hour per week, that hour would have been filled by something, maybe a lunch, maybe a podcast. Now that would be filled with a coaching session for somebody. So I don't know. I'm really enjoying this space where I'm doing a little bit of everything that all seems to be really fulfilling for me. And I think it's all centered ultimately in helping others reach the potential that they want to achieve in their life. If that's buying a home, if that's getting a coach, if that's, putting an addition on their house or redoing their kitchen, it kind of all falls in place together. And I think the media side of it just helps open doors and create new relationships. And it's fun. It's like you're a student. I learn from every podcast I go on, and I just feel like it's such an incredible process, and I love speaking to the audience and sharing my story. I'm always open to answer any questions for them too. And it's fun. I think this part, I've always liked the networking side of business, getting to know people.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I don't know. I think whether you like it or not, and I know some people don't like it, but I think that is the networking, the relationships, whether that's built in those luncheons or it's built through media, it's incredibly important in sort of the business world now, because the first thing people are going to do, prospective client, prospective customer, they're going to probably Google your name. They're going to see if you have, if your business has a website, a social media page. They're going to look for all of these things. Because they can do that in the palm of their hand on their phone. They might then want to have that lunch with you, depending on sort of what level of comfort they need to have with you. But like, that's your social proof to start anyway. Like, who is this person? Yeah. Can I see a few things about them, and then kind of go from there? So I think, the media presence is incredibly important at this point.
Yeah, I like how you said, like, whether you like it or not, it's true. It's like, I didn't always, going to my first networking event wasn't very comfortable, applying to be in a BNI group. I was in a BNI group for 8 years, going, in front of, I remember there was like 40 people in that room, and they were all professionals, and it was at a law firm. I was like so uncomfortable. It's like, I have to stand up now and tell them about who I am and what I do. And so I just think we need to keep breaking down these barriers that we have in our life. The first time doing anything is always difficult. And I think the place where like a lot of dreams go to die is in that like planning stage. It's like, okay, well, here's what I have to do. And like, so I tend to just take action on things, and then just kind of build processes out after, and kind of do it along the way, as opposed to like, let me plan everything out and think of every concept. And then, I just met with a construction company the other day that's doing, $9 million a year in revenue. They have 16 projects going right now. And they're like, we're just starting to build systems like the way that we really need to, because, when we started, we just wanted to get out there and do business and just get customers and make them happy. And, we kind of did it a little bit backwards, but so it's just, there they are, they went out and did it. So you gotta believe in yourself. You got to get out there, and the business is about people, right? It's not like a solo sport, any of this. It's really getting to know people. And I think if you can do that effectively, it can certainly help you. And using social to do it is such a great platform.
Yeah. Yeah. People talk so much about systems and processes, and I think that they are very important, but also they're meaningless if you don't start, right? There's got to be something to put those systems and processes in place. And those systems might be different when you're just starting your business versus when you have $9 million of revenue and 16 jobs going. Like, it's just, And so there may be refinement over time. So
Hmm.
looking for things to be perfect before you start is like a ridiculous endeavor,
Hmm.
because it's going to change, right? No matter what, you could get them perfect for your start, but then you're just going to have to change them a year or two or three into your business, because you're going to have growth, and that's what happens, and that's
Right.
okay. Like, that's part of the fun, like developing and adapting to whatever the new normal is for you and your business is like, I think a big part of the excitement around entrepreneurship is like just being able to say, okay, here we are now,
Hmm.
doesn't look like it looked 2 years ago. What do we do? Like, what do we
Right.
do to adapt to that? And I think that's just a fun place to play in.
Yeah, and you know what I think that, Jason, I think that's all about like falling in love with learning. I love learning new things.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many seminars I've gone to and things I'm constantly listening to information that can help me grow and do better at whatever it is I'm doing, whether that's like planning for the new year. I just listened this morning to, 30-minute seminar about, effectively planning things out. And it was more construction related. Towards the end of the year, I sat and I put a whole playbook together for the mortgage team. And I wanted like this whole big job aid ready for people that, and I researched things and tried to find ways to do it. And so I think we have to fall in love with learning too. I think that has to be a part of it, like always wanting to kind of understand things, always realizing like I'm not perfect, I have room to grow. Those are important components too, I think.
Yeah. Well, learning from the good and the bad. In fact, probably, at least for myself, I learn more when things go wrong than
Mhm.
I do when things go right. When things go right, you're just like, yeah, awesome.
Mhm.
Let's keep that going. And when something goes wrong, sort of figuring out how to maybe not have it go wrong the next time, I think is just a really good opportunity to to learn, as you said, and just keep that.
Mhm.
And I think learning from other people is such a huge advantage. If you're willing to do that, if you're willing to, whether that's through mentorship or just, or like, again, good and bad, seeing where someone else screwed up and saying, okay, don't do it that way,
Yeah.
however you want to use it, but looking around and seeing what people are doing. Like, I think you can, that to me, that's one of the best parts of media, is like, you have access to everyone, like them or not. You
Mhm.
can use that piece of whatever they're putting out there to say, yeah, I really like that idea, or I think that's a terrible idea, I will do the
Mhm.
opposite. Like, I don't, it
Yeah.
doesn't matter. It just matters that you can be observant and like a sponge for what's going on around you. I think just
Mhm.
such a big help in business and entrepreneurship.
And listening, anyone listening to this podcast right now, that's what they're doing, right? They're learning from somebody else's experience, somebody else's perspective, and how, why they do things, how they do things. And so that's podcasts are a great way to do that, to learn from like OPE, other people's experience. And so I think you're absolutely right. You nailed it. You really gotta fall in love with the process of learning. And if you're here today, and if you're listening to podcasts, if you're listening to audibles, these are the spaces you do it in. And the reason I met with that construction company, I did this in my mortgage career. I've done this in every business I've been in, whether it's real estate investing, is like, I want to talk to other people that are doing it at a better level than I am. This guy's been in business 30 years. We've been in business 2 years. I want to sit down with him. What are you doing? What are your systems? And it turns out we use the same software to manage like client services and stuff. And so we spent a lot of time talking about that. And I learned some things from them and he learned some things from me. And so I remember in the mortgage industry when I first started, I was in my 20s and I wanted to sit down with the top producer. I'm like, hey, can I just take some time to pick your brain to learn more about what you do, what you have done to grow your business, what your disciplines look like? People are so happy to talk to you about that. They want to help you. It took them a while to get there and somebody helped them. And so I remember sitting down with some of the top producers at the time and they were like, here's what I do every week. And I'm like, well, then what do you do after? And be a student. That's back to the learning part. Be a student, realize people really do want to help. And so if there's someone out there that you could reach out to about whatever it is, ask them for help. Ask them how they did it. How did you become so successful? How did you do so great in real estate investing? Like, what's your strategy? And I feel like that's exactly what I do on a podcast when I bring someone on. I'm like, tell me. I feel like, you're the student.
Yeah.
in the front row getting to ask the questions. Someone said that on my podcast. I'm like, that's absolutely right. You're right.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that's my, that's my favorite part about having a podcast is just being able to pick other people's brains and have, I am hopeful that it helps the audience as well. But like
Yeah.
selfishly, I'm like, I'm going to learn as much as I can from this person in the, 30, 40 minutes that I have. So
Right.
it's a great opportunity. Um, Nicole, let me, I want to shift gears a little bit here.
Hmm.
A couple things. First, I want to ask you, like I ask everyone, and I told you I would ask you this, I
Hmm.
want to dive into what is your why? What's driving you? You have obviously a ton of success. You have a lot of things going on. What's continuing to, push you forward and get you excited about growth?
Yeah. It's that whole, I'm reminded of like that whole Simon Sinek, TED talk about
Yeah.
know your why. And it's interesting because I think that I think for me, I think it goes back to when I was younger and kind of seeing family dynamics and recognizing that what I wanted to be like and what I didn't want to be like. And I knew I didn't really want to have, I knew I wanted to have independence, financial independence.
Yeah.
That was really important to me. And I knew that there was going to be a lot of pain that came with that, but I felt like the pain was greater on the other side, like depending on someone else, not having your own things, kind of being living mediocre. I kind of felt like that would be more painful because of all the things that you wouldn't be able to do or have. And so my motivation when it comes to like making a lot of money, helping a lot of people is not necessarily like for material things or because I want to buy something or go somewhere. It's probably really heavily rooted in like safety and security, which I think is tied to freedom and choice. And I don't like not having choices. And, so many things happen in our lives, that I don't want to be in a position where I have to really say no, if that's maybe my parents need help one day. I want to be able to help them. My nephews or children or, my spouse. So I think it's really about also being able to be there for others in times of need. And how money doesn't really make you happier, so I heard someone say, but it does afford you a lot of the things that could provide you with better opportunities in your life or make life easier in a lot of ways. So I think through time, like the first stage of the game is how do I make money, right? And I think that starts with really wanting to help people. Like it can't just be about making money. It has to be about enjoying what you do, helping people, building relationships. And if we work hard, the rest of it comes. But then I think through time, then it's like, okay, now I've made money. Now what do I do with it? Now where do I go? How do I get back to learning again? Right? Like how do I get tied into like strategic accounting methods and making sure that I'm doing the best from that perspective and I'm investing the right way. And so there's so much to it. But I think that you get a lot of reward out of helping people and achieving your goals. So I'd say my why is really built on safety, security, freedom, and choice. And I think that comes intrinsically when you put others first. You try to help people, and you just work really hard.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I actually, you said safety, security, freedom, and choice, right? So
Hmm.
a lot of people on the podcast talk about, that whatever it is, business, entrepreneurship, real estate, whatever category, they talk about the freedom, that freedom and choice is a big part of the why.
Hmm.
I love that you also added safety and security because so many people outside of the entrepreneurship world think that that's like an unsafe way to go that but it's like, but I completely agree with you. I think it's the security of being in control yourself is
Hmm.
so much more comforting and freeing than essentially being at the whim of someone else by having a job. And I know not everybody feels that way, but like you saying that is, I think, we're like nearly 400 episodes in. Pretty sure the first time anyone's ever referred to it
Oh,
as
that's funny.
safety and security, but I completely agree. Like the ability to know that I can do whatever I want, and in some seasons that might mean I have to work more, but
Hmm.
if I have an illness in my family, it means I don't have to ask anybody that I'm going to be off and be home with them or whatever
Hmm.
it is. So it's like there's so much to that I love that. I love that you said that, because I think that's not maybe not a common you know not a common traits that are associated with entrepreneurship, and
Hmm.
I think it's actually pretty important.
Yeah, that's interesting you say that, and when I think about like the audience, some people may have a really, for my mom, she was like, why don't you work, in the union or the post office or something? Or I was like, man, if I look back, like, and I followed what she just wanted me to be safe and protected. And in her mind, like having a steady paycheck with great benefits and, healthcare and all that stuff that felt good, for her. For me, like, I can't imagine if I was like working in the post office, like a post office right now. I'm like almost getting ready to retire, but I just can't imagine that. I really need to push myself to the highest levels I can. But there's a place for everybody, and I am so thankful for the people that are working at the post office and the police officers. But I noticed that a lot of people are doing multiple things. Like I have a friend of mine that's a police officer full time and also runs his own mortgage company, and is very successful and does real estate investing and owns a business, so you don't have to just do one thing. So you can kind of have the security of that steady income and then also kind of get out there and do other stuff too. So hopefully that's encouraging. But yeah, I think you want that safety and security in your life. We all do.
Yeah, completely agree. um Tell me about the keynote speech you mentioned before we started
Oh
recording.
yeah, yeah. So I did a keynote speech on the science of luck at the fourth annual Women's Conference here for the Jersey Shore Chamber of Commerce in New Jersey, and it was awesome. I spent a lot of time thinking about what's a great topic that would apply for people personally and professionally, and I came up with this topic, the science of luck. I can't own the concept of the science of luck, but I'm having a lot of fun talking about it in a different way, and so really what the speech is about is that luck is something that you can control in your life. It's not something that just happens to you. It's not just magic or coincidence, but it's actually something that you can control in the sense where you can create environments where luck is more likely to thrive. I think, in short, we've all heard the term, the harder you work, the luckier you get. And so conceptually, that kind of is like the umbrella of the topic. But we talk about the formula of luck, and we also talk about some statistics around luck and some studies that have been done. There was this doctor, Richard Wiseman, who conducted like a 10-year study on the science of luck. And he said what he found is that lucky people tend to be more open minded. They tend to have broader social networks. And so when you think of those two things, you kind of just pause there and ask yourself, like, how open minded am I? I always say be radically open minded, but not easily persuaded. And you think about, how open minded am I? And like, what does my social network look like? Is it just my friends from high school? Is it just my neighbors who I see at the school functions? Or am I doing something to broaden that social network? So that's kind of like the crux of like people that tend to be more lucky have that. But then there's this luck formula that we give everyone. And we talk about how the formula to luck is preparation. So, really doing the groundwork, studying, building the skills, getting prepared, and then opportunity. So, preparation plus opportunity. Then it's like putting yourself in those environments, getting on those podcasts, being in front of those people that you're going to be in places where opportunity can come. But it's not only that, it's also like you could be at a coffee shop and opportunity could be there. So, we use this example about how, two people walk into a coffee shop and one person sits down and just starts scrolling on their phone, and the other person is kind of open. She's looking around and she strikes a conversation with the person next to her who happens to be the CEO of a company. And at the end of their great conversation, she gets a job offer. Why don't we talk? Why don't we think about you for this position if you're interested? And so the difference there was just someone that was a little bit more aware, a little bit more open minded, and you kind of have to have the right mindset to see those opportunities. Because if you're just head down and you're not looking for them, you might miss really great opportunities in your life. And there's a lot of people that do because they're not looking for them, and they don't come as flashing green signs, or red signs. So you have to look out for the opportunity. You have to have the right mindset for it. And so once you have preparation plus opportunity, then you have to take bold action, right? And that's really the magic sauce of it. And if you kind of rinse and repeat that, and we say bold action because I might follow up with you after this because maybe I want to learn more about your real estate investing, Jason, and maybe I don't hear back from you. And so I could just leave it there, or I could pick up the phone and call you. Maybe I call you and I leave a message and I still don't hear back from you. Maybe you're away, maybe you're busy, who knows? But most people would probably give up after that. Like, oh, maybe he doesn't want to talk. Maybe he's just not interested. Bold action would be consistent approach after that, right? Well, I'm going to try to send him an email, and maybe I'll shoot him a text, or maybe I'll find him on social or something. I'm not going to give up because I have to talk to Jason. I'm going to take that bold action. I need to know what he's doing. And so you got to rinse and repeat that formula over and over again in your life, because sometimes you do all those steps and you fail. That happens, you think about the statistics of business failures. And so you got to prepare, you got to find the opportunity, you got to take really bold action. And then you do those three things, and luck is going to thrive in those environments, especially if you continue to rinse and repeat that over and over again. And so it was a really fun speech. And we went into so many different examples of people that have done it, and people that have overcome failure. Like J.K. Rowling, such a great example, went to 13 publishers before the Harry Potter books were published. 13 publishers turned her down. It's just crazy to think that, how many people would have given up after the third, the fourth, the fifth? So it's just, there's so many resilient stories out there to shed light on. And so, the goal is to try to help people create more luck. And it was a really fun topic to talk about.
I love it. That's I love that formula. I think it's very, very applicable. So, Nicole, when people hear this and they want to reach out to you, what's the best way for them to get in touch?
Yeah, so on all my social handles online are at $1 Billion Banker. So you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. We host a great podcast as well. Where I'd love your audience to come check it out. We have some awesome people there. Jason, maybe you can come on one day. I would love that. Sure. And if anyone needs anything in the world of mortgage or coaching or real estate or just advice, I'm always here to help.
Awesome. Well, this has been amazing. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I really appreciate everything that you shared with the audience. It's been great talking to you. So thank you for being here today, truly.
Thanks for having me.
Folks listening, make sure you connect with Nicole, and please like, rate, and review the show so we can continue to get great guests. Thank you all for listening.
Hey there, I am Dr. Jason Balara, and this is the Know Your Why podcast, where we explore the why behind success. Every week, I meet with real estate investors, veterinary entrepreneurs, mindset coaches, authors, and fitness professionals to uncover their why and how it drives them on the winding road to success. What is your why?